All right, so that was a summary of some of the day's business news stories. Let's move on to other stories in depth. Policy think tank CATS International is pushing for some radical reforms in operations of the Ghana Revenue Authority to help deal with mobilization shortfalls. This is one of several proposals captured in its 2019 budget inputs to the Finance Ministry. Center Coordinator Apia Amwaku spoke to Joy Business after a media engagement in Accra.
Almost all the reforms that Ghana Revenue Authority has been implementing over the past couple of years has been on the low-hanging fruit in terms of the easiest ways and means of taking taxes. They don't want to go beyond the extra mile in collecting taxes. So they look at PAYE, which is easiest form of revenue for them. Customs, excise levy, those things are easy measures for them. But things that requires a lot of ingenuity and creativity, Ghana Revenue Authority has not explored those areas. For example, if a person works in 4 different places, the first job may be a full-time job. So that full-time job, the person pays PAYE on his or her income. The other jobs, they may be withholding 7.5 as withholding taxes. But what they are paying him is a salary. Do you get it? So we should be able to find a ways and means to aggregate all earnings that people are receiving so that at the end of the month, you can fall into the right bracket, say that you pay your right tax margin.
You're making some proposals. One would ask that how different are these proposals from what has been done over the years? And you believe that these proposals would get at the results in terms of improving revenue? Because if you look at the size of our economy and the amount of taxes we are collecting, it still doesn't add up.
Just tax to GDP ratio for Ghana is still under 17% compared to 35% OECD average. And in Africa, it is 25% on the average. And Ghana, we are still almost 10 points below. So when we are able to implement most of these reforms,
that
we are proposing, I think that government would rake in more revenue and spend in the critical sectors of the economy, education, healthcare, and infrastructure.
Have you made some costing here where we know that for these measures that you've outlined, if we go this way, revenue could go up by 2%, 3%, 4%? Have you done some valuations here?
We've done conservative estimate, especially for property taxes, for example. We've been able to do a forecast as to how much government can raise, and we are looking at 4 billion cedis annually from property rates, and 4 billion cedis can even finance free SHS. 4 billion cedis can do a lot. And also, we also look at taxes for people who are working in the informal housing industry. Those one, we are looking at 100 million Ghana cedis as taxes from their withholding taxes. So we've done a lot of, proper econometrics, assessment of this projection.
All right, so a conversation there about revenue shortfall. I want to bring it back because the former finance minister, Seth Terkper, has been speaking about our revenue shortfalls and essentially predicting in a tweet that because of revenues falling below expenditure and budget deficits widening, resulting in our financing needs, borrowing and debts are set to further increase in the coming years. I want to bring in my colleague, Philip Namfori. Your thoughts on what the former finance minister has been saying?
Yes, Darryl, thank you very much. This is not far from what has been captured in previous budgets. In the 2017 budget, there was a portion that described the structural rigidities. And by this, I mean there are certain expenditure items in the budget that consume 99% of the revenue. So what it means is that we have very little left for capital expenditure. Most of our monies or our revenues go into salaries and compensation, go into servicing of our debt. and another line item, statutory payments. So we have very little left for capital expenditure. And how do we finance this? Either by borrowing, primarily by borrowing. So you realize that, yes, there's a problem. The new government, as the NPP, they try to put in some measures to free up the fiscal space. That's revenue versus expenditure. But I think what the former finance minister is saying is that the reality on the ground is that it's not as easy as it looks like when you are behind the scenes.
He's been talking about smart borrowing that the NDC was doing in their time as a solution to all of this.
Yeah, so essentially he's saying that they should adopt the NDC's principle of smart borrowing. And by this, they are going to be able to put...
You're agreeing on your face.
Oh, well, some of these descriptions, well, from my opinion, I'll not speak much. But anyway, he says smart borrowing. Whatever that means, it's up to them. But essentially, you have to line your expenditures and increase the revenue. But the revenue increasing is not as easy as it looks like, because it's going to take some time. And we keep on talking about the informal sector having to be roped in to the formal sector, because it's placing a burden on you and I who are in the formal sector and we are captured. So yes, a number of measures have been put in place. The tax identification number is one, for example. We should see some of these measures yielding some results in a year or two plus. All
right, and I'm going to talk about the 2018 budget. We had the Cuts International talk about the 2019 budget and the fact that government should put in or should review the operations of the GRA. But let's talk about 2018 budget because of the forum you're going to be having tomorrow. Government highlighted some policies, plans to boost the financial services sector. I want you to run us through those policies and how far we have come in meeting the targets set by government.
Okay, so I was able to get my hands on a hard copy of the budget. Yes, this is the 2018 budget under the theme Putting Ghana Back to Work. And Section 6 talks about the policy initiatives. And under that, we have the financial sector initiatives. And it's not very long, but I'll just summarize a bit of it. What government is talking about here is the fact that we need to restructure our system, particularly to enable us to raise long-term financing. If you look at the raft of projects they want to accomplish, one district, one factory, we need long-term funding. Our banks are very acclimatized to short-term funding. So we're going to put in place long-term funding measures. For example, they want to put in place measures that can leverage on our pensions, but that will have to be programmed properly so that when our money that we're going to fall back on when we are 60 plus are put into financial instruments, they must go back again to where they are sitting. I don't know if So these are some of the measures they want to put in. Some of the things that they outlined were the banking sector reforms, which we have seen some of them going on. But there was one thing the finance minister alluded to in the budget, and he says the financial sector remains heavily dominated by banks. The total banking sector assets to GDP ratio as of September 2017 is 50%, and it compares unfavorably with the capital market, as a stock exchange, or the stock exchange under the capital market. So we would see, I'm sure, in the coming months, more measures, and we've seen something about the mortgage industry also, so that we can, you and I can go and take a mortgage and get a home. So more things we put in place, I'm sure, in the days coming to provide the needed strength and position Ghana as a financial services hub, which is contained in this budget.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Philip Namfori. So he's speaking to us ahead of the Joy Business Financial Services Forum. It's themed The Changing Tide of Ghana's Financial Services Sector, the cause, the cost, and the cleanup. And you want to join us, that's tomorrow, Thursday, 1st of November, at 9:30 at the Golden Tulip Hotel. We are expecting to host the World Bank, the Ministry of Finance, the Bank of Ghana, and the Securities and Exchange Commission, as well as the National Insurance Commission.
Bank of Ghana will close the door for banks to meet the minimum capital requirement in December. On November 1 at the Golden Tulip Hotel, Accra, we bring you a conversation on the topic, the changing tide of Ghana's financial services sector, the cause, the cost, and the cleanup. With some upheavals in the banking sector which have sent shockwaves throughout the industry, the ripple effects are widespread, from banking and insurance to pensions, savings and loans, service providers, customers, and the economy. Join us to discuss recent happenings in the financial services sector as we also examine interventions by regulators to ensure strong, sustainable growth of of the financial system. You can join the conversation by tuning into your superstation, Joy 99.7 FM, or watch it live via the Joy 99.7 FM and Joy Business Facebook pages. If you tweet, you can participate by using the hashtag Joy Finance Forum. Joy Business, empowering, prospering together. Joy FM, your thought leader.
Welcome back to Business Live. Now, to ensure that all public, residential and industrial buildings across the country conform to safety standards, government together with the Ghana Standards Authority has launched the Ghana Building Code. The code determines the standards required for all construction work. Charles Aite has more in this report.
The building code comprises a set of rules that specify the standards for constructed objects, such as building and non-building structures. It also regulates the design and construction of these structures, as well as focusing on public health, safety and welfare of users. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says the building code will mainstream cost of construction.
That the Ghana Building Code being launched today should be a game changer as far as ensuring value for money in public construction in Ghana is concerned. To guarantee the quality and durability of materials used in construction, buildings, schools, roads, hospitals, and all types of public construction works must use materials that are in line with the standards specified in the Ghana Building Code. Once specifications for building in accordance with the standards specified in the Ghana Building Code and construction materials utilized as specified in the code, it should be possible to have fairly accurate uniform costs for all types of construction in the country.
Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Dodo, noted the new building code, benchmarked against the Green Construction Code and the International Building Code, will ensure efficiency of construction costs across the country.
And what we have done in the code is that you can use materials which are not expensive and yet get a house which is safe by all standards, safe as any other expensive material. So now consumers now can literally pick and choose. So instead of iron rods, you may use bamboos where there is no need for iron rods, and instead of cement, you may use pozzolana or bricks and other things. And what the Standards Authority have decided to do is that we will take the lead. We are going to ensure that all the buildings we put up are going to be of these types of materials, because with Ghanaians and any other country, leadership has to come from the highest level possible.
Ghana's building code is a modified form of an existing international building code. It lays down the essential requirement for building and structural conformity.
Textile importers at the major markets in the central business district of Accra have kicked against moves by government to introduce a single corridor for importation of textile prints. According to the small-scale importers, the move will have an adverse effect on their business because they don't have the capacity to import on a large scale through the Tema port. They have been agitating at the last in a series of sensitization workshops for dealers in Accra. Ebenezer Sabote reports.
The decision to introduce a single corridor for importation of textiles has been agreed upon by a committee set by government to work out solutions to deal with the influx of pirated textiles in the country. After a series of stakeholder engagements across the country, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Tremantin, led a delegation from the committee working on the implementation of the textile tax stamp to hold a final engagement with importers, traders and dealers at the Central Business District of Accra. After a presentation from the stakeholders and the minister, some of the importers opposed the policy. According to them, since they don't import in large quantities, using the Tema port would mean huge taxes which could impede on their business.
Look at us right now. Can I get 500 million or 1 billion and go to China and order and bring it through Tema? But at least even if I bring about 20 pieces and sell, I can make a little profit and do little things that I'm doing to keep life going. But if you tell us we should take our things through Tema, but my brother, how much are we making? At times, even when we do the exchange rate is even bad now.
It's like you are paying a tax, and another tax in a very special way is being added to this thing. You see, when you are working, you are having about 7 to 10 workers, and you are paying a lot of taxes, and then you watch your income and the way you are paying the people. It's like there will be redundancy.
And the stamp is free. It's free of charge.
That is what they will tell you from the onset. How can you complain for anything free?
And that cannot help, because normally I bought maybe 10 or 5 or 6, and my colleagues do the same thing. Somebody can buy 50 and 100. How can we manage from Lome to Temaboda? Through where? Is it escort or what?
The minister, in a response, assured that government will put in measures to see a successful implementation of the policy.
I don't think what we are interested in is to create an unfair competition environment for our local traders. So we've identified that the major source of the problem is their flour border.
People don't agree.
So that's where we are trying to deal with it. And I think that obviously, when you are introducing changes, you find that there is initial resistance. But this is supposed to balance the interests of the traders themselves, of the manufacturers, and also of consumers. So let's give it some time, and I think that we can always review the implementation.
Government has set the middle of November to start the implementation of the policy, irrespective of the agitations. Ibn Sabote's report for Joy Business.
All right, you're watching Business Live. We are taking a short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the Joy Business van. Welcome back. Now, 10 years of selling beef, and Hisham Seidu has never regretted his decision to drop it all and follow his calling. Now the CEO of a butchery, Nama Meat, Hisham is working hard to improve his chances of taking over the meat market. That's our Joy Business van tonight.
Growing up in the family he calls a farming family, Hisham Seidu knew he was destined to take a career in agriculture. But how exactly? He did not know. This led to him studying and obtaining a first degree in agroforestry, then to law, then to his national service with mining firm AngloGold Ashanti, where his career path became all clear with the help of a group of friends.
So through interactions at my time in AngloGold, I got the opportunity to supply their company livestock because they knew of my farming background, and also I had access to livestock. So I started that supply, and I kept going on until it was the end of my service, and I moved back to Accra. So then with my partners, we decided to expand into Accra, and that was the beginning of the journey.
Now a sole proprietorship, Nama Meat has a herd of 230 cattle up in the northern region. In Accra, it has a meat shop which offers a variety of beef and goat meat. After seeing a growth in the demand for already cooked meat, Hisham introduced grilling services for special occasions.
Recently, we are realizing that the market for cooked meat is also quite robust. So we have been slowly foraying into that, and we right now have an on-demand grill service where people place orders and we deliver. Somewhere along the line, we hope to have a more regular, or should I say a fixed location where people can come and pick up already grilled meats. We know the best parts of the cow, we know all the tasty, juicy parts. We make our own seasoning, we make our own sauces. So we're able to provide a very premium product for our customers.
And what makes his meat special? The attention given to each cow in the feedlot.
Dominantly in Ghana, most people rear their cattle free range, Fulani herdsmen walking all over the place, destroying crops and all that. You don't really control what the animal is eating, it's free range. But with the feedlot, it was similar to what the poultry farmers do with the broilers. It's controlled, it's fixed. So when you bring it out, all your meat, your beef is similar consistency, similar fat content, similar taste.
Hisham describes his journey so far as interesting, with several ups and downs. He recounts his worst moment, which almost lost him a big customer.
And to freeze a large amount of meat, you need blast freezers. So we had arrangements with commercial cold storage facilities that would take the meat, freeze it for us over a night or 2 days, so it becomes rock solid and we can deliver. So one of these facilities, I think it was the first one we ever worked with. It was a harsh lesson. We had the products in there over the weekend. It was meant to be delivered on Monday. We took it in Friday. Monday, open up the place, bring out the meat, and everything is green. Somehow, whoever was supposed to put on the freezer or buy units, I don't know. I just left.
With Ghana importing about 90% of the poultry and livestock meat consumed, Hisham feels responsible as a cattle farmer to work harder to improve and increase locally produced meat. Hopefully in the near future, Nama meat will be a household name not only in Ghana but worldwide.
Nama meat means meat in Hausa. So for us, it's to see Nama in almost every household in Ghana eventually. We want to give Ghanaian beef an identity. We want to show that it can be done locally. People can grow on a large scale and sustainably, where there's little conflict with crop farmers. We want to show that it can be done. And it can be done in a large scale, where we can produce locally and we can supply locally. And we can have a brand to the point that people will start looking for Ghanaian beef even outside Ghana.
Isn't that so appetizing? Well, that'll be it for tonight's program, Business Live. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We've got the day's stories there for you to read. My name is Daryl Kwao. Thanks for watching.